Once more, I think fans are going to be surprised at my top picks.
It is very dangerous for you to start thinking for yourself.
Yes, today we are ranking the albums of Queens of the Stone Age, and we're starting with Queens of the Stone Age in 1998. Primarily written and recorded by Josh and fellow former Caius bandmate Alfredo Hernandez following that band's breakup in 1995. The band was originally known as Gamma Ray and released an EP under this name, but later changed it to Queens of the Stone Age. Pretty solid for a debut. I wouldn't say it's quite as memorable due to not having as many of those big standout singles, but it's pretty darn consistent with lots of great tracks. My personal favorite on here, Regular John, right from the beginning, has that unquestionable just Queens of the Stone Age guitar sound, and then of course you know Josh's instantly recognizable vocals. At face value, there's nothing particularly new about what they do, but they do have one of those sounds that you just hear a few notes and immediately know who it is, and I just always find bands like that really interesting. I also dig If Only, How to Handle a Rope, Mexicola, and Give the Mule What He Wants. Solid album, but definitely, again, not one of my favorites, so I think good feels right for this one. They followed that up with Rated R in 2000. I've got a secret I cannot say. This is the first album released for Interscope Records and to feature bassist Nick Oliveri and vocalist Mark Lanigan. And as a metalhead, I really connected to how heavy this album gets, especially when Nick steps up to the mic with that raw animal intensity. He's got this kind of Iggy Pop energy to Josh's David Bowie, but I love this opening track as just sort of a nihilistic drug mantra. Apparently Josh came up with most of the song stumbling around in the desert after a New Year's party. This followed by the vibraphone-infused single Lost Art of Keeping a Secret, and also 70s sounding Autopilot. Better Living Through Chemistry has the cool little hand drums and kind of trippy psychedelic haze to it. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, there's the blunt force aggression of Quick and Pointless. Tension Head bringing more of those classic Queens of the Stone Age hooks. They're a band also where you just end up singing along to the guitar line just as much with the vocals. Very consistent album overall with a lot of great standout moments too that showcase every element of what I like about this band, bringing it all together into a cohesive vision. The only track I've never really cared for is Monster in the Parasol. I just find the chorus irritating for some reason. Not perfect, but one of my favorites. I'd previously, I think, had this at top tier. Got some changes here. This might be a hot take. I'm putting it at fantastic. If you're going to get mad about it being second from the top, you need to re-examine your life priorities.
Daddy, chill.
Next up is Songs for the Deaf in 2002. We get some rules to follow. Now, I think for many people, this was the album where they initially got into the band, as it was unquestionably their big breakout album, largely thanks to No One Knows hitting the radio and being played basically around the clock. That's one of those guitar hooks that you just can't ever unhear. Then they dropped Go With the Flow, bringing more great riffs with that infectious little piano line too. I'm also personally a big fan of the opener, You Think I Ain't Worth a Dollar, But I Feel Like a Millionaire, again bringing their heavier side. It's got attitude, but it's also smooth at the same time. A Song for the Dead is a banger. Love the groove of First It Giveth, Do It Again, and the hypnotic title track. Great atmosphere on The Sky Is Fallen. But between the high points, which are among my favorites of their entire discography, it's also got some bloat in its hour-long runtime, with some tracks that could be a minute or two shorter, and others like Six Shooter, Gonna Leave You, and Another Love Song feeling a bit like filler. There's always someone in the comments who are like, those are my favorite songs. And that's great, the difference of opinion makes it more fun. So yeah, I don't know, that might be a controversial opinion, but I feel like some people view this album with sort of rose-tinted glasses without actually going back to listen to it all the way through, like I always do when I do these tier lists. To me, a perfect tier album is riveting all the way through, and this one just has a few skips for me personally, so it landed it at great tier, sacrilege probably. Also, this is their last album with Nick as a full-fledged part of the band.
If you don't like it, you can leave.
Then they dropped Lullabies to Paralyze in 2005. I think that this album basically takes everything that was great about Songs for the Deaf and does it even better. More standout tracks. This Lullaby is a neat kind of folky intro with Mark Lanigan crooning his baritone over the acoustic guitar for kind of a Tom Waits vibe. Medication brings more of that instant single rock and roll energy with the fuzzy guitars. Everybody Knows That You're Insane is a real head bobber. And then of course there's the incredibly catchy Little Sister with that legendary woodblock that caused Will Ferrell to reprise one of his most famous roles during their SNL performance. For some reason I couldn't find a clip of it anymore. They probably took it down. Gotta love copyright for robbing us of seeing historical pop culture moments. Tangled Up in Plaid has more great sardonic lyrics and a fun little stomp to it. Great bass groove on Broken Box, and You've Got a Killer Scene There, Man brings back the kind of smooth club jams. Someone's in the Wolf brings both killer riffs and atmosphere. Some more chill, melancholic tracks like I Never Came and The Blood Is Love. Still some filler on here, I would say. I'm not a huge fan of Burn the Witch, Skin on Skin, or In My Head, but I enjoy this one more start to finish overall. Also, it made number 5 on Billboard. I'm going to put this one at fantastic. Next up is Era Vulgaris in 2007. I recall when this came out, I heard a lot of talk from Queens of the Stone Age fans I knew saying it wasn't as good, and I just don't understand that at all because I think it's a wonderful album. Turning on the Screw is a great opener with that guitar actually sounding like its namesake. Sick 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 is another one of my top 10 personal favorite songs from them, and that continued the trend of taking a very simple riff and spinning it into such an earworm. Something about the vocals and overall energy is just so frantic and kind of unhinged. My grip on your Threes and Sevens will also forever be etched into my mind because it was big on Rock Band and Guitar Hero. Suture Up Your Future has that more spacey lounge kind of element to it. Into the Hollow is so serene and peaceful, while Misfit Love is a major head bobber. Great piano and kind of 70s vibes on Make It With You, sexy time music, and then ending strong with the River in the Road and Run Pig Run. Also, even though it's not actually part of the main track listing, I love the title track remix with those industrial vibes. Tighter 47-minute runtime that is incredibly consistent all the way through, still providing plenty of different textures, but it all comes together. So this may be another controversial opinion, but I think it's one of their best from start to finish. Like, there are no skips on this one for me, so I'm putting it up at perfection. Then we got Like Clockwork in 2013. Long gap between albums here, which plays into the tongue-in-cheek title. Quite a list of contributors too, including drums from Foo Fighters' Dave Grohl on several tracks, Trent Reznor providing some vocals and drums, Nick Oliveri back for some backing vocals, members of Scissor Sisters, the Mars Volta, and Arctic Monkeys, fucking Elton John providing piano and backing vocals for Fairweather Friends. And even those big names aside, this is easily their most ambitious sounding album to date. It is definitely a different type of album for them, with so much mood and more atmosphere than anything they had done before. Keep Your Eyes Open is an incredible opener with that big attitude bass rumble and the way it like slowly escalates over time. If I Had a Tale is another fun one that is catchy but also kind of gets under your skin. A city of glass with no heart. If I had a My God Is the Sun is a fantastic track. I saw them play live at the end of some awards ceremony. Collapsia opens like a Kid A era radio track. I Appear Missing is just gorgeous. Smooth Sailing still brings that funkier side. I got some pushback on this last time I did the video, but I stand by my statement that this feels like Queens of the Stone Age doing like a David Bowie album, full on. In any case, best production, most mature songwriting, just a haunting, stunning album from start to finish with another tight 46-minute runtime. Yeah, I'm putting this at perfection. It may well be my favorite. If you've slept on this or somehow have still not listened to it, please go listen to it again. Then they followed that up with Villains in 2017. Now, coming off of that last album, I had high expectations going into this one, especially since I consider them to be like one of the last great active rock bands. And they just kind of do what they want to do, and I respect them for that, but switching from that big atmospheric moody stuff to some of the very stripped back kind of rockabilly energy here was pretty jarring to me. I just don't think it's as compositionally interesting, at least not all the way through. Feet Don't Fail Me is a solid opener, again feeling very David Bowie, but for one of his more upbeat moments. The Way You Used To is an okay single, but even that fails to make an impression, which should be like bare minimum for this band. I do like Fortress and Unreborn Again, which call back to the more moody synthy vibe of like Clockwork. I also dig the strings on the latter. Villains of Circumstance also makes for a solid closer. As the years have gone by, I haven't seen really any love for this album. It's commonly mentioned with the accept qualifier for their discography discussions. I will say on re-listen, I didn't hate it as much as I did when it came out. Songs like Head Like a Haunted House also have their moments. Great bass on that one. Better than I gave it credit for, but still my least favorite probably overall. So I'm putting this one at okay tier. And that brings us to In Times New Roman in 2023. Promising lead single with emotion sickness pulling in all of the band's best strengths. And really a lot of this album really feels like them trying and largely succeeding at recapturing their glory days. Obscenery is a solid opening track with plenty of that old rated R fuck you energy. Likewise, right down to the production choices in Killer 3s and 7's reminiscent guitar solo, Paper Machete feels right out of their past catalog. Negative Space brings another sick attitude-soaked hook that you simply can't resist bobbing your head to. Time and Place is also a total foot tapper, and fun layering of the guitars made it an early favorite for me. Carnavoyeur also made for a funkier single, bringing a little bit more of that Like Clockwork magic. Similar notes for the more atmospheric and experimental Sicily and the 9-minute closer Straitjacket fitting. Not perfect, I'm not a huge fan of Made to Parade, which I find kind of annoying, but I do like the more melodic elements later on. What the Peephole Say is pretty infectious, but also falls into some of the cornier elements I didn't like about Villains. Those might grow on me, and even so, I do think this is a pretty tight 48-minute runtime that in many ways is more consistent than some of their classics, but again, it doesn't necessarily have those big instant classic singles of those previous albums. So ultimately, right now, I'm putting this one at great tier. Y'all check out this video for my Foo Fighters tier list, or this one for the Smashing Pumpkins, and also subscribe for plenty more tier lists in the more metal territories. Let me know down in the comments, how do you feel about these albums differently, but that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.